Hey, hey, hey. Time for an out-of-this-world story from rSpace. They say confession is good for the soul. Today on rSpace, we meet a cheater who certainly knows how to use her mouth, though unfortunately for her husband, not just for honest communication. I told my wife that if I was going to take her back, she would need to write me out a full confession. This is what she wrote. Curious to know what your take on this confession is. 11 years ago, friend was messaging me as a friend, and I let it go too friendly. I told husband I wouldn't message him again. I saw him at soccer and just talked as friends. He knew I was pregnant with daughter and would ask how I was doing. About a year ago, I started to have more friendly conversations with friend over WhatsApp. Nothing was flirty or inappropriate at that time, and I didn't delete the messages. I saw him occasionally at soccer or social events, friend's wedding, and we would just catch up with each other on life inquiries with other mutual friends. Seemed to be normal. A couple months later, the texts started getting more flirty, and I liked the attention. We sometimes called each other to check in and see how life was. I deleted the messages and the calls. I felt guilty, but I honestly felt like someone understood my anxiety, and I didn't have the stress of kids or everyday life that I had with husband. He started to ask about my relationship. I admitted that I wasn't happy with how things were going, but I still loved husband, and I wanted to focus on the marriage. He seemed to be supportive with all of this. There were some weeks that husband wasn't being nice to me, or I was having a bad week, and friend would ask how things are going with me and husband. I lied and said it was worse than it was to get support because I felt like I had none at home. I said things that I know would give me the validation I needed, that I cared about his support and he was helping me. There was emotional support that was lacking and felt husband wasn't able to provide at the time. I tried to talk to him about anxiety and emotions, but at this point, it was already too far gone and he was dealing with his own issues. We saw the small problems, but not the big ones. I talked about my body insecurities. I sent a picture of my armpit area to show what I was insecure about. It wasn't a sexual picture, but I can see how this may have been misleading. He asked me for more. A couple days later, I sent a picture of my boobs. He sent a picture back, but I asked him not to send me anything else. Friend asked what would happen if I asked husband to go to the football game with him as friends. I said he would say no, but friend told me I should because we were friends and he would say yes. I was honestly surprised that husband said yes. He asked to go to the game with me. I usually went and met up with a variety of people anyways. Nothing inappropriate was done at the game. He drove me home and then pulled over. He asked if he could touch me. I said no. We kept talking for a little bit about my issues and I felt supported. So when he touched my breasts again, I let it happen. I wasn't happy. I felt immense guilt, but I didn't stop it. He asked if I could touch him. I said no, but then once again I felt like I would lose his support if I didn't. So I did, and I tried to get it over with as soon as possible. And I didn't feel any connection or desire. I felt so guilty and ashamed. I told myself I'm stronger than that, but at this point, I knew I couldn't tell husband because I would lose everything. We had some talks after this about me not wanting to do this and him being in a relationship as well. He didn't seem like he was pressuring me to make a choice. This happened 3 more times. Each time I felt like I was digging myself into a bigger hole and was still not happy other than the emotional support which I wasn't getting when I was being physical. I tried to have conversations with friend about how we couldn't keep doing this, and I was always convinced that he was helping and not pressuring me into anything. There was another time we stopped for coffee and were talking in his car about life. He asked to touch me again. I said yes, and then a minute later said no. He listened. He then asked for a blowjob. I said no, and we continued talking. I'm honestly not sure what he said to convince me to. I was terrified afterwards. This wasn't how I wanted my life to go. I know I liked the support and the validation, but I felt it got out of hand. I didn't know you could feel so guilty but also somewhat supported at the same time. It was easier to try and ignore the guilt and focus on the support I was getting. I tried looking for other ways to get the happy feeling. Nothing replaced the happy feelings I was looking for. He told me he had feelings for me, but he didn't want to F up my marriage. I knew this didn't make sense because everything we were doing was effing up my marriage. I was scared to tell husband anything was happening along the way because I felt like I was going to be screamed at, hurt, kicked out, felt feelings of never being good enough again. I wanted to be a good wife, but I knew deep down I already effed that up. There was no kissing or sex or any other touching of my body. That felt way too intimate, and I felt sick even thinking about it. I wish I would have been stronger to say no and stick with it the previous times. He had a girlfriend for a couple of months towards the end. I asked him how he could say these things to me and still go home to her. I wanted to find a reason for why I was doing what I was doing. He always said that he knew he couldn't be with me, so he needed to have someone else to fulfill those needs. I really just wanted the emotional support, and I felt like I needed to do more physical things eventually to get that. It sickens me thinking I thought this. After this all went down and I lied to try to save anything I could, I only told part of the truth because it was easier. I called a friend to tell him that I told husband about our relationship. He asked me if there was any way I could save it. I told him I couldn't talk to him again and to leave me alone. Not the right decision. I felt ashamed and angry at myself. I realized how much bigger of a problem it was. There was anxiety, self-worth, communication, and abandonment issues that I never saw in the moment. It feels like I was on a bad autopilot and just going with anything that felt good to get rid of the shame. It wasn't the right choice. If I was worried about not being good enough for my husband before, that's something I struggle with even more now because of what I did to him. I feel so guilty and ashamed that I didn't realize how bad things had got before it was too late. I made decisions that I am not proud of and will forever remember. I will grow from this experience and become a person who is more in control of her life. Let's see how the community reacts right quick. First up, she left out the part where they had sex. The rest of it is blame shifting away from herself, describing herself as out of body in how she writes, and not really embracing that she did something bad and then put herself in that position multiple times. Next up, first off, I don't believe it, but take that with a grain of salt because that's my default position with cheaters. Lying is like breathing to them, so whatever they confess to, I always assume it's the tip of the iceberg. Second, every step of the way in this long series of events, she had a chance to stop it, end it, turn around, but her need for support and happy feelings took her all the way into a physical affair. Now, I personally think this is a pathetic excuse. We're human, we all have a need for support and validation. Most of us don't end up giving BJs for it. She is not a war survivor with heavy emotional trauma because she lived through some crap. Her needs were normal, ordinary needs that don't result in gaping wounds when neglected. The truth is, she liked it and she wanted it, and that's all there is to it. Her sleepwalking into this affair defies belief. She paints this picture of how she's on autopilot and somehow lacking agency until the end where she wakes up to shame and guilt. I can see a child getting away with this explanation, but I wouldn't accept it from an adult that I'm supposed to lean my back on. Just my 2 cents. One more comment. A. She's blaming everything on some obscure Jedi mind tricks that friend pull off. B. She was jealous of friend having a girlfriend. C. It's difficult to believe nothing more happened. She accidentally tripped and fell into an affair multiple times. She wants support? She should get a therapist or a dog. They're both great at validation, and neither will ask for BJ in a parking lot. Update. D-Day was early December when I found out my wife was cheating on me for at least a year, but I knew something was wrong in April and started to suspect what was going on in August. Anyway, after discovery, within the next 48 hours, I lawyered up, and overall the separation has been going about as smoothly as it could be. I'm not saying it's been easy, but overall this hasn't turned ugly and I've been amicable with her for the kids' sake. I also have to play nice because I see her at work too. I kind of just have to take it on the chin and be a man about the whole thing. In some ways, this might actually force me to heal quicker. If I can't harbor hatred, maybe I can move on sooner. That's the hope. Just after Christmas, she wanted me back and threw herself at me. I was honestly considering it. My head was in a weird place. I've always loved her deeply. It didn't help that I starved for affection for a long time and now all of a sudden she was all over me. It messes with your mind. I gave her conditions and boundaries on how we could make reconciliation work. That's how I got that confession from my previous post. It was one of my conditions. I'm glad I didn't call off the separation with my lawyer during all that. A week or so after living in this confused state, I snapped out of it and realized it was never going to work. Mentally committing to leaving her was hard, but it is the right choice. Anyway, fast forward to this week. The lawyer has the papers drafted and ready for review, and her move-out day is approaching. She's been pretty calm about the whole thing. There are days where I can see she's struggling. I know she doesn't want to move into an apartment. I know she wants me to take her back. I think she's realizing how much I did around the house, finances, etc. But overall, she's been calm and collected about the whole ordeal. Not a lot of waterworks or drama on her end. The only time it gets spicy is when I realize she's lying to people or telling some watered-down version of the truth about why we are separating. Then I lose my crap. I'm done with her lies. You did it. You made your choices. Now you gotta own it. I have to work with a lot of these people. No way I'm letting them believe we are divorcing because I got jealous over some text messages. To protect my butt, I've been recording all of our conversations with the voice memo app on my phone just in case. There's no trust, and I'm glad I did. I have a lot more evidence if I ever need it down the road and can spot her gaslighting now. If she continues to lie and people press me on it, I have plenty of audio of her admitting the truth. When I go back and listen to them, the conversations are usually quite calm, but tonight was different. She had a full-on meltdown. A few days ago, I was feeling a bit anxious about the future. I met her before all the dating apps took over, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm in for. What I do know is that she's been treating me poorly for 3 to 4 years, and it hasn't been good. I've been unhappy. She was never awful, like no yelling or anything awful to my face, but she basically ignored me. She never asked how my day was, gave me any compliments, or thanked me for anything I was doing. I got a hug if she was having a bad day and she needed one. She was always so negative and an emotional vampire. Intimacy was very low, obviously. Basically, I got the bare minimum from her. I spoke often with her about it, and she kept telling me I was an amazing husband and father, and that she was just in a weird place. Then, she'd make a token effort for a week or two and return to her ways. Is that what breadcrumbing is? Anyways, after 2 years of that behavior, I also started to check out. Not ever as much as her. I would always compliment her and ask her about her day. But still, I was getting used as a doormat, and I couldn't help it. I pulled away and I dialed back how emotionally intimate and available I was too. I didn't even really notice it happening until now in hindsight. Maybe once I started to check out too, that's what drove her to start an affair. Something to consider for the future. I loved her, but in some ways her affair is a relief. I wouldn't have left otherwise. I loved my family too much, but now I can go without feeling like a bad guy. I know that people here understand that saying D-Day hurt is an understatement of the century, but honestly I felt like I am healing quite fast. I'm hopeful for the future, and with that thoughts of the future come thoughts of dating again. I'm not ready yet, but I was curious. I wanted to see what was out there, and Facebook kept sending me notifications to join their dating platform, so I made a profile and started looking. I matched with someone and immediately felt bad about it. I couldn't be talking to a woman knowing that my wife hasn't even moved out yet. That doesn't feel right. I wouldn't want to be chatting with a woman who is living with her husband still, even if they were separating. So I apologized and said that I wasn't ready to date and that I just wanted to see what these apps were like. I was intending on just leaving it at that until I was ready. But over the last few days, I have been getting notifications that other women were liking my profile. I didn't even know I could see that. I thought I had to match with people and be swiping for that to happen. So, out of curiosity, I have been opening it up and looking to see. Anyway, my soon-to-be ex-wife noticed I kept looking at my phone and was asking who I was messaging. So I told her. I made a profile the other day to see what it was like. She demanded to see my phone and aggressively started scrolling through the profiles of the people that liked me. She lost it. She broke down and was sobbing. I don't want to live anymore. I'm going to throw up. I can't live without you. If I disappear, the kids will just get a new mom anyway. That sort of thing. It went for over an hour. I think my son heard her too. He's little and should have been sleeping. I worry about him. I was conflicted. Part of me really hurt seeing her like that. I was with her for 12 years, and although I felt a lot less love for her after discovering she was cheating on me, I still have a lot of love for this loser. But another part of me was kind of sadistic, like, good, that's how you made me feel. You deserve this. What did you think was going to happen? I would never have taken the pleasure out of seeing another person, but like that before, especially her, she was my everything. But dang. I think she's genuinely remorseful, but that doesn't change the fact that the marriage is over and I need to leave. It sort of just hurts more knowing that if she could, she would do things differently and I'd be so happy to just love her. But I also know, and recorded her saying it, that she wouldn't respect me if I stayed. Which means even if she was loyal moving forward and never did it again, she wouldn't really respect me. How can you love someone you don't respect? You can't win. She says she loves me, and the thought of me with someone else tears her heart out. Ironic coming from a cheater, yeah? But I don't think people in love treat each other like she has treated me. I couldn't sleep. I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking for here with this rant. To share, I guess? Maybe hoping someone tells me I'm not an effing sadist, taking some pleasure in her anguish. Some advice on when to start dating again that isn't just, you'll know when you're ready. In some ways I know I'll get past the hurt from her infidelity. Maybe not completely, but enough that I'll be out there living my life. I think good things are in my horizon. I don't know. I just hope the rest of you are recovering in your own way. Now a couple community comments. If she could live without you, she would not have cheated. But she did, and she wanted to. She is saying things her actions do not back up. In other words, she is still lying to herself and to you. You know all you need to know, OP. She told you if you stay, she wouldn't respect you. Honestly, good on her for being honest for a change. With that nugget, you know it's over. If she says anything about staying together, nicely tell her that she told you she won't respect you if you stay. The OP replies, I don't need to say anything. I'm going to be nice to her for the kids' sake, but that doesn't mean I have to stick around. I'm effing loving my mental state this week. I'm honestly smiling and can enjoy big chunks of my day. I'm not that mad anymore. Just moving on, and I don't need to spend the rest of my life hating her. The next person says, long story about a wife that refuses to take accountability for her actions before, during, and after the cheating. She's used to having it that easy way, and you putting your foot down is destroying her reality and causing her to crash out. Good job, soldier. Carry on, and I'm sorry. You're not a sadist for feeling some sense of justice in a reaction, OP. It's a very human response to finally see consequences play out. She's reaping what she sowed. She did this to herself. I think it's okay to want to watch her world burn after she lit up yours. Anyway, the moment you're truly excited about meeting someone new rather than just curious or validating your worth, that's when you're ready. Have your exes ever tried to crawl right back when they saw you on a dating app? Let us know below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.